Preview of Season 3, Episode 4.
Your relationship with Mamie Mobley, the mother of Emmett Till. Emmett Till, the 14-year-old African-American boy who was abducted and tortured and lynched in Mississippi in 1955. You talked a little bit about this a moment ago. After being accused of offending a white woman by whistling at her. This incident rocked the nation during a time when racial segregation and political unrest was at its breaking point. You have inside information being the surrogate grandson of Mrs. Mobley. First, tell us, how did your relationship, when you say surrogate grandson, how did your relationship begin with her? Tell us how she's...
Well, I lost both my grandmothers back in the 80s. So Ms. Mobley became a surrogate to me back in 2000, actually. I saw a play here in Hollywood called The State of Mississippi versus Emmett Till. And afterwards, I went up to the producer and I asked, what would it take to bring it to San Diego? And he said, you. And I was like, okay. Well, I was working at CBS at the time, making good money. And I said, okay, I'll do it. And about 3 weeks later, the play that was playing at a 99-seater here in San Diego was in Hollywood, was on the road. And we ended up in San Diego for a weekend. And what I did is I asked the producer to call to see if she would be my special guest. And she said that it was cool to give me her phone number. And I called her. And from that day until the last day I spoke to her, we just really clicked. And I flew her out here to San Diego, she and her cousin Abe, and we just had an amazing time. And then even before the event and even after the event, we still stayed in contact. In fact, the day she died on January 6, 2003, she died that afternoon, and I was scheduled to call her that evening to confirm that she was going to come back and visit with me again, this time just a regular visit. But nevertheless, we just became very close. And, and I gave her my word that as long as I'm alive, I'm going to do my best to continue to tell the story like I did on my show on Sunday, where we commemorated the death of Emmett Till.
Yes.
And, and then I was blessed that I had a chance to speak at her funeral. I mean, this is someone I learned about in the history books. And there I am, a little fellow from Slidell, Louisiana, speaking at the funeral of this iconic lady. She and, Sister Rosa Parks, which I have a picture up there on the wall. I became very, there's a picture of me and Sister Rosa sitting on a park bench. That's a 20 by 30 poster.
Uh-huh.
And so, they knew me by name.
Mm-hmm.
And after I saw Eyes on the Prize in my U.S. History from a Black Perspective class in 1987, that's when I fell in love with my history even more. So I loved it with Roots, but then when I saw Eyes on the Prize and I took part A and B of that class, it was all over then. And when I brought Mrs. Mobley and I was able to bring, have some of my Black history professors there, including Dr. Shirley Weber, who's now the Secretary of State of California, but she was the head of Africana Studies at San Diego State at the time. And I've got pictures and stuff. And in fact, what I'm in the process of doing is a second documentary on that, but it's going to be about my relationship with her and that weekend in San Diego. And then I have quite a few pictures. And so what I've decided to do is, in addition to the documentary, to memorialize it by putting together another coffee table picture book, so that long after I'm gone, these pictures will still continue to tell the story about that weekend in San Diego.
Black History Mini Docs Podcast.
This podcast is available now on Apple Podcasts, Buzzsprout, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcast.